Okay. TGIF is the subject at hand.
At hand here. 8-bit memory gamer going back as usual to the memories.
ABC TGIF.
Yeah, man. That was I mean, I remember us being hyped at school and couldn't wait to get home for TGIF because I mean, I don't think at that time when TGIF came out we owned a video game system, a gaming console.
Oh yeah,
So
so the
I
only
think
entertainment.
all we had was TV.
Yeah,
All we had was TV. So
and
we had
the
Nick at Night, which
anticipation.
that's a subject for another time,
Yeah,
and TGIF. And we had the afternoon cartoons, of course, that we loved. Another topic that we'll be doing are Saturday morning cartoons and afternoon cartoons.
yeah,
But I wanted to start it off on that TGIF. TGIF, it got things really started on a lot of stuff for us.
yeah.
It had a lot of things going for us. We had because I mean we had a lot of shows
Well,
before
this is
that.
this will be interesting because I think it's different because when I got introduced to it, I was in Jersey. I hadn't come to Georgia yet, so it'll be interesting to find out the differences between how it ran in Jersey and how it ran in Georgia. Because I remember like my first introduction to TGIF was Full House. Like I remember Full House before the obvious, that everybody was focused on Steve Urkel. It was Full House first. So I don't know if it
Right.
was Full House first for you.
Yeah, Full House was I mean it was they kind of started it out. Full House was the one that I remember the most. I remember Mr. Belvedere actually I think was like the first thing that came on Friday. But later on, like when Full House got there, it was like TGIF, like all over the place, and it was like you had to know what was going on. Full House, me personally, I just thought the show was okay, but my mom and my sisters, they used to watch for Stamos.
Yeah.
Oh, they used to love that all the time. They were just him and Bob Saget.
Yeah, I don't
Bob
know
Saget was the
because
person that I watched the show for because he was funny.
yeah,
Like I never cared that much for the kids. I mean, I've always been a little more ahead of my time. Like I wasn't one of those kids that love watching kids
kitty kid
as a
kid.
kid. I never was like that. I never
Yeah.
really too tough like watching children. And so I was always a bit more adult, and I used to like watching. I used to like watching him. He was hilarious, and even
Yeah,
though
you
he
probably
wasn't
liked Bob
as
Saget.
hilarious as
That's
he,
that's probably why. You know what I'm saying? Because he was a pretty raunchy comedian, stand up.
yeah, he was a very raunchy stand-up comedian, and you know, uh, it was. I used to the adults in that is what I used to watch it for. And like I said, I was forced mainly to watch it. I had to find something to pick out and watch because my mom and sisters were not changing that channel because they was waiting for Stamos to appear.
But
But
speaking of
yeah,
Stamos, it was my wife that told me that he was on the soaps. Because of course I don't
right.
like I never watched soaps. I was never into no soaps. But yeah, she told me that he was a character. He was a character on some. I don't even remember the actual show, but his character name was I think Blackie.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. But I know. I think my mom and sister used to say that he was from the soaps. So um, I know that Full House started. And the second, now see what was second on our list. What would come would be Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Perfect
yeah, yeah. I
Strangers
forgot
was
about that. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, no, it definitely was Perfect Strangers in Full House, but I definitely was more into Perfect Strangers. Perfect Strangers
right.
was different. It was hilarious.
I
Um,
loved Perfect Strangers, man. It was
his backstory. I mean, Belky's backstory and all that stuff. Just the way it you know,
it was just funny, and you saw these actors on other things. You brought it up earlier that he was Balky was you
Surge
know
and
hello,
Beverly Hills Cop.
yeah,
Yeah, and his I don't know. He just was like a natural.
yeah,
What is his
yeah.
real name? I forgot his real name.
um
Bronson Pinchot.
okay, yeah, man. I just Perfect Strangers was it for me, man. You had to their catchphrases, everything. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
You had to love Balky and the odd couple type of thing that they had going on. Um, a new
oh yeah.
spin to the odd couple because the odd couple
I never
had
thought of
been
that. I
done
forgot
a
about
couple of
that.
times before.
Yeah,
Two roommates problems, one is different, but I think theirs was really, really good for that time.
but yeah, the whole odd couple aspect. Yeah, that's I mean that just works.
Yeah, he was from, this guy he was from an area where he just raised goats and it was,
Yeah, so he was like more of the free spirit. He'd be more like,
right,
and then his cousin was like the anal retentive. Got always got to be
right,
clean and
right.
um, tidy and so forth.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great, just a great thing about two people being completely different, but still getting along, trying to get along.
And
And at the end, of course, TGIF has to have a lesson.
yeah,
That's when TV shows gave you a lesson, and it wasn't just a whole bunch of silliness. It was actually, we need to make sure we put some family values in there. So,
and then and then they play that music to go along with it. That
right.
that music always has a certain tone. Always has some kind of like real light melody to kind of I don't know.
Yeah, they gotta have it all the time. It was great. It was those were great
But
times.
it's one of those
Then
shows.
uh,
I was gonna say it's one of those shows that was really special about it is because I haven't seen that show since it aired way back. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't seen any reruns. I don't recall reruns coming back out.
yeah, I
So
really don't. That's true. I've never seen them like just show that show. For the most part, they've always like you just gotta go by memory or clips from the internet or what have you. I've never actually ran into like that show actually plays. Not here in Atlanta, so
yeah,
not from the shows or like any streaming service. I don't recall seeing that on any streaming service. That would be nice to maybe see that.
yeah. And I try to tap into everything that's kind of like back in the day, like as far as streaming and so forth, like Me TV and Pluto and stuff like that. These were they supposed to show like a bunch of old stuff, but that hasn't come up.
Yeah. And other show that came, of course, was in that lineup was Family Matters.
Of
Family
course,
Matters came
that was the
a
highlight. That
little,
became the highlight.
yeah, a highlight. That was after Full House and because of course all these shows kind of had a spinoff because these families
We,
would
you
be
know,
introduced
you already
to,
know that Family Matters spun off from Perfect Strangers.
right. There's a whole bunch of stuff that spun off from each other.
Yeah, it was the mother Harriet, right? Was it
Harriet,
Harriet Winslow? I want to say Harriet
but also I think it was something that was they were.
because
I mean,
she was
it
like
was so many.
an
They were on a
elevator
couple of shows
attendant,
too.
an elevator. She operated the elevator or something like that on Perfect Strangers, and then
Right.
what's it the father Mr. Winslow, what's his first name? um, but anyway, Mr. Winslow, he came on the episode. So the mother and the father, they were on Perfect Strangers, and he was like just like fresh off of uh hard with no Die Hard with Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of made him a shoe in. He was a cop in that movie.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty. It was pretty cool. Like I said, all of this stuff was a bit behind each other, even though they were like a couple of years behind each other. But like for the most part, they started running all together, and they ran together so excellently for those couple of years. That was just great. Family Matters, man, and then of course Urkel started taking control of the show.
Oh, he took a
And
man.
I remember my mom saying that, and all this stuff. I know people possibly, if they ever listen to this, or people who go back like, God, this guy talks about his mom 24/7. Yes, I do.
Why not?
My mom, like, my mom said it when we was watching that. She was like, this kid is going to take over the show. And I was like, what? The little nerdy guy? That I was like, I knew he was not supposed to be a character that stuck around. Like, I think he originally, that character got started on Full House, I think that character got started on Full
You
House.
got me there.
I think the Urkel character started on Full House, and he was just gonna be like doing cameos on different shows.
I'm gonna have to look into. I'm gonna have to look into that. He wasn't
supposed to be on just one show, and he wasn't supposed to be taking over Family Matters, but he was supposed to be on. I think that was their. I think that's what I remember them saying. That he was just originally supposed to be like a cameo type character for different shows, and he was going to be the smart guy that comes in that kind of solves people's problems and causes a whole bunch of other problems, and then he goes away. But you know how these places are when it comes to these channels and all that stuff. It's all about ratings. It's all about views. It's all about ratings. Somehow, and he got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. So, but what I remember is, he was supposed to be like a cameo, like, and I think he was kind of like in the background. It's like started off in the background, but then they kind of pushed him up into where he was actually supposed to be a date for Winslow daughter, and they was like, they didn't realize he was such a nerd or whatever. But it was something. But it's such an interesting story because, from what I heard, he actually tried to sabotage his what do they call it, the audition. He tried to sabotage the audition because he was kind of burnt out. I think he had been on a lot of auditions and nothing had worked out for a little while. Because I mean, a lot of people don't know he was on shows before. He had done work, prior to Family Matters,
Right.
and he was actually on a show with Flip Wilson, and that was a sitcom, like a short run sitcom. But he was no stranger to it. You know what I'm saying? So, but he just tried to sabotage it. So him kind of taking on the whole Ed Grimley type character, because that's where he got it from. That's where his Steve Urkel came from. Ed Grimley, Martin Short, the character he played way back in the day. So y'all can look up Ed Grimley, and then it'll all make sense. But he did that kind of like
character was inspiration for it.
Yeah, but he did it the way he did it in the audition. It was kind of like a rebellious thing. He thought that by him doing that and being silly and having his pants all jacked, he felt like that would sabotage the audition, and they definitely wouldn't hire him. But it ended up working out like tremendously in his favor, and he had to roll with it. Um, he ended up being like the ingredient that they were missing that took that show to a whole different, pretty much saved the show, really.
Because didn't I think, because the story that you're talking about, I think, didn't Bob Saget have something to do with that?
I don't know about Bob Saget. I never heard anything like. I never heard that association.
Because I think recently they said something about that, like that Bob Saget had said that he, back in the day when he was doing Full House, because he was going to be a cameo on Full House, do a cameo on Full House, and he was saying something. They were saying something like they wanted him to do that. That same, because you're right. Julie White was trying to, like, kind of, like you said, trying to be like, they can't want this. This cannot be what they want. So I'm gonna go to all this stuff. I'm gonna have suspenders and have all of this pants jacked up and just be super super nerdy and stupid.
Yeah, and then they're gonna shoot it down, and
I can get on with the rest of my day.
Yeah. Go on and just be a kid.
Said was like Bob Saget was one of the people that was like, most definitely, yeah, let's do that. Because in fact, yeah, it was something like that, because they were saying him and Julia White were hanging out just before he died, and he was like, they did a little interview, not an interview, but a little live thing that he was just telling kind of that story, and he was saying that, I kind of owe that to Bob Saget, because he said some, he was the one that kind of was like, yeah, let's do
so
that.
He's saying he basically co-signed him, and
right, he pretty much put that extra, that signature on it, saying, yeah.
Because his name held some weight, because he had already been there for on ABC. Yes. I guess he had some leverage, had some say so in the matter, so he could. And that's good that he used his position to help a young actor out. That's dope.
Yeah, that's straight. But Family Matters, like it was amazing because like you were saying, like how he was in the background at first. And now, like, even the picture that we're looking at now, it's like he's in the front.
Yeah, that's the majority of the pictures were
in the front.
Yeah,
straight up in the front, and the family's in the background.
But it's funny.
It used to be the exact opposite. It used to be a little small little thing. You would see him peeking over the shoulder or the couch of the Winslow family, and you didn't see him.
Yeah, that changed.
Now
it changed so quick.
All up front.
It changed so quick, because I think it's wild, because I think a lot of people didn't even watch the show, so they didn't see his growth. They just know they just know, Steve Urkel is always being on the show, but he wasn't always on the show. And the funny
Right.
thing is that I think it got to a point where people just forgot about Family Matters. And like I said, we would want to rush home to watch the Urkel show. We didn't refer to it as Family Matters.
Right. A lot of people refer to it like if, like you said, if people didn't know, if they jumped on it later on in the years, people used to call it the Urkel show. Like
Yeah,
people wouldn't know when I would say it at school or when I would say it to other kids in the neighborhood or whatever. Oh, Family Matters, is about to come on this Friday. Family Matters. People would just be like, "What? What's that? The Urkel show?" You had to break it down. The Urkel show,
yeah,
because after a while, people would really, really, they didn't know that it was called Family Matters until later. But it was first known as Family Matters before it was the Urkel show. Streetwise, it was known as the Urkel show. When he became the main character on there, it
I
became the
mean, he
Urkel show.
really came in and set up shop and just took over. I mean,
Yeah, a lot of controversy when that type of stuff happens. But I mean, once again, not when as the viewer, we know this stuff now, and I feel like it's kind of the newer generation has it so, I don't want to say easy, I don't want to say hard, I don't want to say better, I don't want to say worse, but it's different. Like, we didn't know, we just knew that we liked this show and it was great. Like, we didn't know all the hassles and the hustle and bustle behind the scenes as much. If it wasn't on Entertainment Tonight, you really wasn't going to know this stuff. Even
yeah,
if they put it in an article, the article wouldn't reach you until months and months later. Like you really didn't know the stuff that was
yeah.
going
Because
on
again,
backstage, and you really didn't
yeah,
care too tough like people care now. Like anything happens
everything's instant
backstage
now.
now, people find out immediately the
Instant.
minute it happened.
It's the instant era.
Yeah, the instant era, man. They don't know what it is to have pure fun. Just watching something, having fun, and people, they go off. Oh my God, I can't believe he was this kind of a person, and oh, that's terrible. He lied to my whole childhood. No, he didn't lie to your whole childhood. It was a good childhood. You had good times because of this right here, this show right here. That person is an actor. They were lying to you anyway. So it's those type of things just made, I think, life a bit, not having all that information, unnecessary gossip, unnecessary problems that you're hearing about, made the shows a lot better. I
Yeah,
should say.
because
I mean, it was an innocence to those shows that now when you hear all these problems, it's gasp and clutch your pearls and oh my God, I can't believe he was this kind of a person. She was a what? Oh, I can't believe this. I think when we first started hearing like stuff behind the scenes when it came to that kind of stuff was, I think Fresh Prince was mine with Aunt Viv. I think Fresh Prince, not getting off of TGIF, but I mean, I think the first time when we started hearing backstage controversy was Fresh Prince when they replaced Aunt Viv. That was the most I had ever heard
yeah,
of
but
backstage problems.
it's almost like you don't want to hear that stuff. Like nowadays, it's this whole transparency thing where you find out things. It's certain things I really don't even want to find out. Like it's certain things that have come to my attention just flipping through social media and different things like that, and I'm like, you know what, I really didn't want to know that because
Exactly.
this is somebody
I
that
don't.
I admired for so long. Like, I mean, I heard some wild stuff about Jaleel White, and just like almost
Like,
almost like he was a borderline despicable brat. You know what I'm saying? But you don't want to see that. You don't want to see somebody you admire for so I mean and been entertained by for so many years in that light. We appreciate y'all tuning into this different kind of a segment with 8-Bit Memory Gamer. This is kind of like a retro tube talk. We're still trying to figure that out. But anyway, if you enjoyed this conversation about the old school TGI Friday, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe if you can relate to this. If you're from that era, if you're not from that era and you just like these old shows and so forth, let us know. Thanks for watching.